What's good? Osiris here. Got a late night live. I don't do many anymore because I'm just so tired. It's hard to do, but the topic that was trending on Twitter got me kind of interested to talk about it so I could get some sleep. This is all for selfish motives. Thank you for coming by. But no, I just I'll get in and I'll be out. And it's about Tim Pool. If you don't know, Tim Pool was trending today and trending all day that I saw. Whenever I popped open Twitter, I think I saw Tim Pool trending. And it is a topic worth having. I use Tim Pool in a way to ride the algorithm of Tim Pool because as far as individual personalities, I really don't care. I really don't give a damn at all. So this isn't about Tim Pool by any means or Cenk. I'm going to play a clip from Cenk here to show you this one sealed the deal that I wanted to go live today, this clip. He's had a bunch of unhinged clips, but this one here was special. So I'll actually start the live with showing this, and then I'll get to my bigger takeaways. If you haven't seen, Cenk he was on another one. Makes for good TV or good YouTube or good streaming. There's a little rant here. Breaking news, Cenk Uygur is having a massive mental breakdown, falsely accuses Timcast and all Republicans of being PDs. Holy ish.
And the right wing's like, yes, I love how they molest the little kids like that. Go get them, Boy Scouts, go get them, priests. Please vote for our molesters and our pedophiles, Republicans say. Republicans, you're guilty, okay? And I'll tell you right now, the number one reason they constantly talk about pedophilia is because it's going through their heads. Nonstop, they're thinking about kids, I guarantee it. The reason Tim Pool wears a beanie is because he's trying to contain the pedophilia that's in his head. That's why he's always talking about it. He's seeing it everywhere. Why? Because he's projecting.
So that's Cenk Uygur. And then I was like, after I saw that live, then I was like, you know what? Let me get my thoughts out here real quick. I just have a couple thoughts. Can I have a couple thoughts on that? Good evening. Thanks for stopping by. Scott Smith. Appreciate you. It might just be you and I tonight. Who knows? It's Thanksgiving. You know, we got Thanksgiving coming up. Family and I are going to go to friends, have some lovely food. My wife makes a nice cheesecake. She did this viral cranberry tart that's just out of this world. First time she did it. Love that thing because I like desserts that have tartness in them because they're not too sweet. It's dope. Yeah, he's unhinged. Yeah, he's Cenk is unhinged. But you know, when you're out here, and that's part of what this live is about. When you're out here trying to get likes, views, subscriptions, it's difficult to cut through the noise. And I don't know if it's conscious or not, but I think it's possible that could be playing in my mind, in Cenk's mind, in Tim Pool's mind. And I think it affects our country where the conversation goes in our country. I think it has a huge effect. I think the effect the effect might be underestimated that the algorithm plays. It's kind of my takeaway here. It's kind of like my overarching takeaway. But if you don't know, Tim Pool had some tweets that didn't go over well with people. And I'm going to talk about it. I was just listening to his after show. I didn't finish it. I listened to about, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes. Well, it probably was I probably got through most of it. So I wanted to hear what his side of it was. So I got through most of that, but I did not get through the whole after show. But that's important because this is going to be about the discussion, but we can take it to the larger. Why am I sharing my own screen? We're going to take it to the larger discussion about the. I think this discussion is about critical gender theory. Is basically what this whole discussion is about. We're back here where we were in the summer of love. Remember all the love that happened in 2020? Like if you didn't get the product, you were an enemy within your own country. You're basically a traitor. People's patience were running thin. And I just saw a great documentary by Stu Peters that I'm not saying, when I say great documentary, just well put together, captivated from second one to the end of the film. And I'm not a doctor, so I'm not saying I know what the facts are in there. I'm just saying it was a very good film to watch. And it was a very dark topic, not entertaining, but captivating, I should say. So we're back in that same realm right now. People are talking about muzzling again. Dr. Fauci was on the pedestal the other day. I just did a short where they asked, Karine Jean-Pierre, like, hey, what's the origin story? And she got real defensive. And we're still here. We've never left the summer of love. I mean, maybe it's been like ceasefires or lulls in the civil conflict, but we're still in the summer of love. The tensions are still there. The only thing that we're missing is a general election. If it were a general election, we would be right back in the summer of love. We've never left it. Nothing's changed. We might have moved a little bit beyond the pandemic stuff, but it's still, what did Dr. Fauci say on the way out? Now, we might go away from it with a MAGA house. We might go more away from it, but right now we're still kind of where we always were. And this, instead of the focus being critical race theory, the summer of love was an outbreak for critical race theory. That's where it came through, and I'm just using that phrase as how we are just using it loosely. I'm not talking about like in law school. Just, you can, whatever you want to call that CRT. But basically all that is the idea that everything is racist. That's literally what it means in the most simple terms. So whatever you want to call that religion, that's what I'm talking about. It's tied in. What's up, Ray? I got a rare late night one. Thanks for stopping by. I had to get my tea to not be too sleepy, but I'm gonna try and get this rant out and not even really a rant, but get in and out. Ray Studios wants to know what's the opinion on Bob Iger coming back as Disney CEO. I'm not very versed in that. I've been listening to a lot of other opinions on it. So if you don't know, Bob Chapek got ousted. He had just re-upped with Disney, and that's pertinent to this topic because Disney has jumped full board into critical. I don't know if I've seen a lot of critical race, but a little bit of critical race with like the race swapping, but I think even more gender. They've gotten into the critical gender theory more. I don't know. I don't have an opinion on Iger, Chapek. I don't know what happened. I do know that it seems to be another CSG move with these asset management firms, BlackRock and the rest. They're the ones really calling the shots. I listened to Eric July. Great to see him. Got my ice from here. I'm glad he did his a successful launch, but it is good to hear him back talking on these because he has a perspective that I don't really get from many other people, even other libertarians. So really, I listened to his last two videos. I listened to every Eric July video. He was talking about how, I have to look into it myself. I didn't know this. He said he saw that Disney Plus lost $1 billion. So that could have played a role. So I'm not sure. So that's a long way of Ray. That's a long-winded way to say I have no idea. Thanks for stopping by, Richard Goodson. Anybody else who has a chance? UK representing. Man, the internet is beautiful. That's why I'm pro transhumanism, man. This is like a lightweight transhumanism. Talk to somebody in the UK. Never been to the UK. Would love to, but where are we now in the United States after the tragedy? Less than an hour from where I live. Right, I've never been there, but I've been to Colorado Springs. Been through there. Beautiful, beautiful part of the country. Mountains. Man, sun, especially in the summer. You got Garden of the Gods not far away. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff. Sad to see the tragedy that happened in Colorado Springs. The aftermath is even more tragic. Again, we are here, just like in the Summer of Love, people are making, I never forget in the Summer of Love when the Jacob Blake incident happened, watching TNT and Kenny Smith walking off set. He didn't even know what happened. Now, you don't have to know what happened to be emotional. I get it, but man, you don't even know the situation that Jacob Blake got shot, and obviously it was a justified shooting. There was nothing wrong there. He was wackadoo. They tried to tase him, all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to relitigate that, but it was a justified shooting, and people just reacted. So this tweet, I'm watching TV, I'm watching CNN and MSNBC, and they're out here literally blaming Republicans and naming different people are Lauren Boebert, Libs of TikTok, Matt Walsh, and we don't know any details. Now more are coming out, and I don't know what to think of it. I'm not going to get too much into that. They found out that the shooter, I'm hearing, is kind of non-binary. So I don't know what that means. I'm not saying anything one way or the other, but that wasn't talked about if that's the case. So I wasn't even going to get into that. What I want to get into is just, man, what are we seeing here? How do you get this from Tim's tweet? So this person here looked at this Tim Pool tweet. This is one of the reasons why he's trending. It says so his tweet here says we shouldn't tolerate PDs grooming kids. And then where it had an incident, and this is true, maybe everyone didn't know this. He said that the place where there was an incident, there was had a grooming event. Let's just say, you drag, pause, queen, pause, story time. They had one at the event. I'm not making any justification. I'm just reading what Tim said and giving context that maybe this should have been context checked. I mean, Elon, I don't know if Elon controls that, but that could have had because I don't think people knew this. He's not saying that the club was a grooming event. That's not what he was saying. He went on, there was surfacing online that on Facebook that they had an event that you don't have to agree or not, but that's what he was referring to when as the event. He wasn't talking about just the club's existence. And I don't know if everybody knew that. People are just so quick to react. That's another part of social media. It's like, oh, tweet, act, react. You don't know what's going on. Pause. That goes for me as well. So I think it's how do we prevent the violence and stop the grooming? This is, Tim Pool he's like a piece of Wonder Bread that's been soaking in water for a day. He's milquetoast. He's just the most, and I give him a lot of credit because it's hard to be milquetoast, and then now it will be criticism a little bit. I'll get into that. But milquetoast doesn't sell. Milquetoast doesn't trend. So I can be up here all day talking about let's hold hands and let's love America, and no one's going to watch that. That's boring. That's like watching paint dry. But that really is what Tim is. Tim is Bill Maher without the raunchy jokes and just more informed. He's a classic liberal, a classic milquetoast liberal. There's no radical take from this guy. He doesn't even have really radical jokes. His after show isn't really radical. I mean, he'll cuss, but I mean, so this is, when you're like that, how do you break through the noise? But that's the tweet. That's not a controversial tweet. I think the left is triggered by that G word, I guess. But then somebody from the left here replied to it, and they said, Tim Pool bravely coming out in support of the person who unlived 5 people. How did you get that from that tweet? How did you get that? I think it's misunderstanding this statement right here. And this is where my criticism of Tim Pool comes. I think he knew. I think he knew whether, let's say this, whether it's, and I'm a Tim Pool, it is not to be dissing Tim Pool, but this is a little dash of seasoning, a little dash of, like Tim Pool's as bland as cooking chicken breast with no seasoning. That's how bland he is. So my take is going to be just a little bit of seasoning, just as like a feedback, just a little bit of dash of feedback. I think he either consciously or subconsciously knew that saying this in a separate tweet, I don't think he retweeted the Facebook stuff. I think I saw that from somebody else. I think he knew. You see how he separated that? Like he didn't even, he had more words in here to type. He could have redone this tweet to say they had an event, which was, or the story time, the inappropriate story time, if to me, if they're dressed inappropriately. He didn't. He left that vague. If you watched him, Tim says all the time, the left doesn't follow the news. They don't dig into these stories like you and I do. And if you're on the populist left watching this channel, you're probably on the populist left that does dig into these things. Or wherever you land, you dig into these stories. You probably are if you watch this channel. I think that's safe to assume. Most people. If you don't dig in, you don't know. You probably think that line that says club pause, Q pause, had a grooming event. You probably think he's talking about it in general. And you don't dig in, you don't know. He's talking about we news surface that they had. It's not justifying anything. Just make sure that that's clear. But they had a separate event that you could refer to as, because you had kids coming through and it was labeled as a drag pause queen friendly story event. That's what he was talking about. So I think people misunderstood. Just like Brianna Joy Gray, she got Ligma Johnson. Like, what was that, weeks after it happened or whatever? Like, when Elon took over, if you don't know, two guys went legendary, went with the old classic Ligma Johnson joke. They trolled the media. They took boxes and acted like they were fired, like Elon had fired them. And the media interviewed them. They didn't vet it or anything, and they fell for it. And then, but there's no excuse, even though I'm not against Brianna for this. Anybody can happen. I make a mistake. Everybody can make mistakes. But after that, Brianna Joy Gray, a populist left on the Hill a lot now, she fell for it again and thought they had really been fired. The point of bringing that up is the left, they don't dig into these stories. There's other stories on the left that I don't dig into, that I haven't dug into the railroad strike a lot. And that girl Casey did a good video on that to help me catch up on that. Shout out to her. But he knows that. He knows they don't dig into stories. So this is bait. And I am disappointed that he didn't acknowledge that. And who knows? I could be wrong. But in his after show, he did not acknowledge that. And I follow Tim Pool closely enough to be confident in saying that's my opinion, that's my impression. And I think you do have to take some ownership of that. And I don't know if it's conscious or not. I think it's algorithm based. When you're milquetoast, how do you trend? I'll talk about that in here too. So the left wants to hate him, so they're just going to interpret anything. So my take on it was, I came from a linguistic standpoint. It's like language has devolved into words having no meaning. So when if I say the word vaccine, the way that Fucci says it is not the same as what I mean when I say it. The way that Robert Barnes says it would match my definition, but the way Rochelle Walensky would say it wouldn't match mine. We don't even have the same, we don't even have a bond close enough to share a language. And it's even devolved into words not even having meaning unless you can put a political affiliation with the person delivering the word. So you can use the word, and I'm not talking about any specific vaccine, I'm just saying in general, the word vaccine. You can use the word vaccine. You could use the word critical race theory. And we don't even all agree. Some people try to twist it. You know what I'm talking about. You know I'm not talking about Derek Bell in 79. I'm talking about what it means now colloquially, just among common people. People know that, but they act disingenuous and say, whoa, that's not what it is. So you have to put an identity. So when I say critical race theory, if I just say the word critical race theory and nobody knows me, they're probably going to ask me, "What are you, a right winger? Are you a left? Are you corporate? Or you know?" They don't know what you mean unless you talk more. Then they'll assign a political ideology to you, whether it's right or wrong. They assign the right wing to Tim Pool, and that's obviously wrong. He's not some right winger. And then they put your words in context. So if this was an ally to the person there, they wouldn't have assumed the worst, and they probably would have asked the questions. Fair to ask. It's okay to ask somebody. It's okay when Tim Pool tweets this. It's okay to say, Tim, what did you mean? That's why is that not a natural response to that? Because we don't trust each other. That's why. They know Tim Pool and they assign whatever ideology, political affiliation to him. So, and we're on the topic of LGBTQ. So that means anything that comes out of his mouth has to be fought against. That's what they do. There's no asking questions. We're obviously beyond that. We've devolved below that, I guess you could say. So that's why the people need to know. And if you are stuck in the middle, it is very hard to market that. So what Tim Pool's doing is, in my opinion, marketing that. Tim knows how these brainlets think, so he set them up to help him trend. What's the point of Twitter being fun? What's the point of, and I know that I'm going to talk about the timing. This is poor timing to do a troll job like this, Tim. It's not I don't have a huge knock on him for it because he really didn't say anything bad at all. But I would say for me, just for me, it's not something that I would do because things are getting too serious right now. But he got to live his life. He has people on his payroll and they demonetize some of his videos, just like you or I. He's not some trusted, the Young Turks are trusted. They're trusted YouTube sources. They get on YouTube TV, the apps you get on the TVs. Tim Pool's not. They could be the Young Turks don't trend because actually a lot of people don't watch them anymore, but they get propped up by YouTube. Tim Pool does not. He was able to build up before the censorship got bad, and he knows people there, and he's got to connect. But he doesn't have any special treatment. Who knows? But I don't think he has any special treatment. He just built up a following before things got. YouTube was much different before Trump. So I think he set it up to do that on purpose, and I don't think he knew how bad it was going to get. The algorithm doesn't boost content that promotes peace, solution, and understanding. And that's something we need to take into account here. And how does that affect us? Even without the algorithm, forget about the algorithm. People are not naturally attracted to things that are healthy. Did you eat asparagus today? I actually like asparagus as long as it's kind of crispy. Not crispy, but like a little, I don't like it soggy. But I like it with steak because steak's so heavy. But there's no fast food restaurant with the main thing on our menu is asparagus and Brussels sprouts that's not fried or something like that. It's McDonald's, nasty-ass burgers and French fries dipped in oil. People are not naturally attracted to things that are healthy for you. There's no broccoli fast food. You got Mad Greens, I guess, would be the closest that I'm aware of. People are not attracted to things that are healthy. It doesn't matter if it's food, news, or entertainment. So that natural thing right there, that's the free market. On top of the free market, it doesn't look like the algorithm boosts things that are peaceful, that try to bring people together. It doesn't look like that to me. Who knows? But it's not. It's not public. That's my biggest takeaway from this. Is it's the same thing as 2020. George Floyd dies. The video goes viral. Only the short piece of the video goes viral. Leading up to George Floyd, we had all kinds of videos popping off, and it had been brewing up. And those videos at that time, it was really big on Facebook. I wasn't on Twitter as much, but videos of some type of identity getting in a bad situation with a cop, a white cop, and those things go viral. Leading up to the Floyd. And then with the Floyd, you had the lockdowns. So you have the lockdowns too. People are mentally like, I need to go outside. This is weird. I'm not going to work. I'm on work on a computer. And then Floyd happens. It goes viral. It's just a big psyop. And everybody, and a lot of people take to the streets. I chose to grab a Canon M50, like the same one I'm using right now, just 2 years ago, a little bit more than 2 years ago, and said, I don't know what's going on, but this is getting weird. And I did my first video where I had my collar all up on my chin like that. It's still on the channel. But we're still here. So incident happens at the nightclub. Incident happens with George Floyd. What happens? It's the hierarchy of white supremacy is blamed for George Floyd. It's not China with the counterfeit that he used, the drugs that he had, the virus that was in him. Yeah, he had the thing, if you didn't know. All those different things, the jobs, I've played this a lot with the Steve Bannon take. That's where I got that. I mean, like putting that puzzle piece together. Then the jobs, manufacturing jobs shipped away to places like China. No, it wasn't that. It was the hierarchy of white supremacy. And the same thing happens here. But now it's even more targeted at MAGA Republicans. Tim Pool tries to address these topics in a legitimate manner. So if Tim Pool tweets something that is measured and balanced, no one cares. That's not rewarded. Whether you agree with me on the algorithm or not, people just don't care. And then when he does it on YouTube, I'm trying to speak in code. This video will probably be demonetized. I've been having actually decent luck in speaking in code and trying to be respectful. So even if it weren't in code, I can say, hey, I'm trying to handle this topic with, some, maybe crossing the line a little bit, but with overall respect. So if you do see ads placed in the videos, I apologize. A brother got to get $1 or $2. That's what it comes down to. I appreciate it. If you think the video is good enough to sit through those ads, I hate the ads myself. I subscribe to premium YouTube, but I digress. So if he talks about this, it's demonetized, deranked, shadow banned. So whether it's conscious or not, the same could apply to me. It's like I kind of know what would trend. I kind of know the computer's. I think the computer's training me. I kind of know, like, okay, I'm going to do this topic, but I don't really see it picking up in the algorithm. Oh, this one, yeah, I could do this. I could do anything on this. It'll probably pick up a little bit in the algorithm. You kind of know. You can feel it. So what does he do? He goes on Twitter and manipulates his political enemies into thinking he's evil, and they help him trend for likes and views. That's what I think Tim did. I follow him close enough to say I wouldn't say that lightly. I think that's what he was doing. It's not a knock on him. Well, I guess it is a little knock on him. But my point isn't him. My point is how the system works. It's guiding the conversation to not a good place. This is the Mason-Dixon line. This conversation, the George Floyd, the gender theory. This is the line. This is what it will come down to. Cenk knows Tim is trolling, but plays along for the likes and views. If you don't know, If you're coming in late, this is the Cenk rant. We'll play it one more time. I'm sure this rant will demonetize it. But he knows, Cenk knows this is viral type material. I know he knows that. He's a vet in this game.
And the right wing's like, yes, I love how they molest the little kids like that. Go get them, Boy Scouts, go get them, priests. Please vote for our molesters and our pedophiles, Republicans say. Republicans, you're guilty, okay? And I'll tell you right now, the number one reason they constantly talk about pedophilia is because it's going through their heads. Nonstop, they're thinking about kids. I guarantee it. The reason Tim Pool wears a beanie is because he's trying to contain the pedophilia that's in his head. That's why he's always talking about it. He's seeing it everywhere. Why? Because he's projecting. And the right wing's like,
who sees this and clicks the join button below? I don't know. I don't know who sees this and says, yeah, you know, I'm signing up for that. I want that. Now, I'm not blaming. I watched it, obviously, but I'm not signing up to join into that type of deranged conversation. I'm good. So that's what Tim did. Cenk, in my opinion, knows Tim is trolling. He knows Tim is trolling. He's not stupid. Go listen to Cenk's interview with Patrick Bet David on Valuetainment. He's just a completely different dude. He knows what's going on. He's playing along, so he's like, okay, Tim's trolling, Tim's trending. I get good likes and views when I go after Tim and the beanie, and I do the little beanie joke and all that. I thought he was gonna go somewhere else with the beanie joke, but I'm glad he didn't. But it's not authentic to me. The rant is not authentic. He knows it's time to ride that algo rave. And that's the rant right there. So I got a reply from Amethius. Thank you, Amethius, on Twitter. Definitely not. But Tim did demonstrate bad taste and timing, and I agree with that. So I said to Amethius in reply, because what we're talking about here is in regards to Ray. Ray said that Tim Pool was bravely, trying to kind of add a little spice to the take to get likes and views. In my opinion, Tim Pool bravely coming out in support of the gunman. So I said in reply to Amethius, I said, I agree, but then the person should say that. If they really say that it's just bad taste and timing, then just say, Tim, this feels like it's bad taste and timing. Why? You see, it all comes back to the algorithm, and maybe it's just a coincidence. Who knows? But it still factors in the discussion. When you search Cenk or Tim Pool, that tweet was one of the first ones that came up. So if it's bad taste, then that person needs to say bad taste. Don't say he supports. Don't say something he never said. He never said that. So don't say what he didn't say. Again, the algorithm could be playing a role here in the response. If you reply to Tim saying, I get what you're doing, but the timing is poor, that won't get you likes and views. Saying that he supports that horrible incident would. And then everybody else rides off of it to the point where it just becomes truth, whether it's truth or not. You can't fight it anymore. Of course, that was a reply to the person here, just to make sure that they knew I wasn't talking about them. Like I said, this is the same thing that happened with Floyd. We're naturally attracted to chaos, violence, controversy, drama, and that makes us all easy targets of manipulation. I'm including myself in that too. You know who had a tweet about that today was Dr. Karlin Borisenko. She had a tweet. It somewhat in this realm, not this topic, but it will give you a little insight to how she thinks. I was not surprised at all by it, and I said I agreed with the tweet, but the tweet was very simple this morning, and I gotta find it. I don't have it queued up, but this morning is like 3-4 different lines to the tweet, and I think it's a very thought-provoking tweet right along these lines of, boring stuff, normal stuff it's just not going to cut it. it's not good enough. So you have to find a way to kind of add some spice to it. So she said she was talking about, I think she was talking about the spectrum of different personalities. And I said, I agree. I always have trouble finding stuff on here. Let me search by me, see if I can find it. It's so pertinent to the algorithm. Here it is right here. I said, great point. I agree. Dr. Karlin Borisenko said, crazy is greater than boring. Tell me where the lie is here. Crazy, so this is her here if you don't know. She has a great channel, and this is why she's so great. She understands this. Tim understands this. Cenk understands this. You don't get millions of followers, in her case, thousands of followers without understanding this. Crazy is greater than boring. Elon Musk understands this. The algorithm understands this. And it's affecting the discourse in our country. Crazy is greater than boring. Eccentric is greater than predictable. Nuance is greater than tribalism. That's the only one that doesn't fit here, but I agree with that. Narcissism is greater than low self-worth. And I was about to reply to her like, is this you? I wonder if there was any replies here. Low self-worth. Great point, I agree. That was me. No, nobody said, is this a self-insert? Somebody had a Tim Pool. Funniest thing about the culture war is that the machine believes, oh, no, I'm not into the Adam beef right now. That's funny that nobody replied to that and said, is that it looks like an obvious self-insert, meaning she's talking about herself. But I digress. Here's Matt Walsh. I'm going to bring Matt Walsh into it. Matt Walsh is absolutely correct here. Leftists are using a mass incident to try and blackmail us into accepting the terrible process and sexualization of children. These people are just beyond evil. I've never felt more motivated to oppose everything they stand for with every fiber of my being. Despicable scumbags. There's not a word I disagree with here. And I will definitely disagree with Matt if I disagree. I'm trying to look. Am I wrong here? Is there something I disagree with? Leftists are using mass? No. Now, when we get into the nuances on his position of these things, there's some disagreement. But with this tweet, I have no disagreement. How are you going to, before you even know the details? It's becoming more prevalent now. It's always happened, but it's getting more intensified. And at some point, people are going to lash out in the other way. I think that's part of the Tim Pool response too. Matt's admitting it's a part of his response. People unlive, and the first thing they think is, yes, we can use this as ammo against conservatives who don't think children should be exposed to drag shows. Soulless demons, evil to the core, truly. Let me know if you found any lies detected there. Let me pause and take a look and see if there's anything in the chat. I haven't looked at the chat in a minute. Oh, I got to get the bots out of here. My bad. I got to keep an eye on the chat, but tell me where the lie is. I don't see it. Barton Bella says, how will the club shooter being non-binary affect the arguments going forward? I just heard that literally before I went live. I heard it on Tim Pool's after show. They were talking about, Luke brought it up. I don't know. I have to read it. You could be non-binary and be MAGA. And not that would affect the MAGAs at fault for the shooting, but you got to get the information. People are just too quick to we got to figure out what's happening here. Now, I will ask questions. Like, I'll ask, well, why are you reacting without knowing? Or with the Nancy P. Pauly P. thing, like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? How did a bum get off the street? Like, I'm not making any claims. These are questions that I need answered, and I don't have trust. So I guess you could say, Barton, that with the person being non-binary, if that's accurate, then that leads me to believe, it leads me to not believe anything. It leads me to ask the question, why were people so quick to blame this on certain people without any information? You didn't even know the shooter was non-binary. Does that play a factor? That's where I would go with, like, the people who reacted without even knowing anything. I don't get it. Not just reacting, accusing people of stuff, which is really serious, of like people who passed away. Matt is right here. It's bat-ish crazy to blame him or anyone else for this incident. I watched MSNBC live. This Brandy, I think her name is something. She literally named Matt Walsh. I believe she named Matt Walsh and lives at TikTok, I believe. I know for sure she named lives at TikTok, but I can't remember she mentioned Matt Walsh. And then look at this. So you have all this energy for Tim Pool, a milk toast, dry turkey. Like if you leave your turkey in the oven too long this Thanksgiving, that's Tim Pool. Just like some dry ass turkey with no gravy. That's not a diss. I know it might sound like a diss. I'm the same way. I'm not dissing him. I'm just saying that's what he is. The most powerful politician in the country, and second in line. When I say the most powerful, is I think she's the most skillful, most connected. She is the most powerful politician in our country, is Nancy P. The most powerful politician in the country, and second in line to POTUS, blamed Make America Great Again or the America First movement for endangering people. This is far more unhinged and dangerous than Tim. This is in a letter that Nancy P. wrote. So I'm going to just bring it up here just so people can kind of see it. Pelosi's statement on this Trans Day of Remembrance. So this is her statement here, and she has it literally right here. MAGA Republicans are cruelly undermining the safety and well-being of our transgender community. She has it right there. And you're worried about Tim Pool? The most powerful, third in line, or I would say second in line, because after Kamala, it would be her for president. That's far more troubling than anything that Tim Pool said. If our federal government operated in a legitimate manner, it would be working on ideas to promote peace and de-escalation among people, not throwing gas on the fire. This isn't a left-right thing. If any politician, including MAGA, is using this to start going back and forth at the federal level, then instead of promoting peace, de-escalating, finding ideas, this is the reason why we don't need a federal government. What do we need it for? It's not the glue that keeps us together, obviously. And I apply that to MAGA too. I think MAGA is missing an opportunity to humanize the movement, and you see a tragedy, and to take a second to breathe and say, I'm not changing my views, but how do we proceed together? That's what I'm missing. And that's not going to get you trending, so who's going to do that? AOC's not going to do that. Who's going to do it? MTG's not going to do it. Cenk has all this noise. Cenk has all this noise for Tim, but he would never have a conversation with him in person. Tim, like I said, he's very bland, but he does manipulate people. He's manipulating people on Twitter, these mentally depraved people. He knows that they don't follow things, and he's manipulating them for likes and views. The algorithm promotes extremes. Who's de-escalating? How does that happen? We're I said we are in the same place at 2020, but the only difference is we're more escalated, I think. Because there's nothing, I don't know if you can resolve this, but it's just still there. So now you're adding on top of it other things. If we have any type of serious economic turmoil, I mean, we're seeing people being laid off, all kinds of stuff. It's going to get worse. There'll be another thing, just like the lockdowns. The summer of love never would have happened, in my opinion, without the lockdowns. So you have another thing interjected in society. I know they're over there overseas now making reparations and stuff over there for climate pause change. And it's almost like there's another event. It's going to be this or that. And they could be that just match to put on the fire, or to light the match to put on the gasoline in this case. For me, I have nothing but love for people who identify as LGBTQ. I don't get into that identifying stuff, but that doesn't mean I don't have love for you as a person. I have no reason to hate somebody I don't even know. I do have boundaries, just like any healthy relationship. But what I am against is the LGBTQ movement. The Black Lives Matter was easier to explain, because if you were a person that supported Black Lives Matter, I disagree with you, but I have no beef with you because of that. You can believe what you believe, just don't infringe on my rights. And I think that I'm equating the LGBTQ movement, like I don't even know how to describe it, the flag and all that, because there was a Black Lives Matter flag too. It's almost like the LGBTQ global network. That's being weaponized as hate against the populist right. Basically anyone who doesn't want to join. That's why they call Tim Pool this or that. And I said that not people who identify as LGBTQ, this movement is putting us in a place where, to me, if a gay bar had a MAGA flag flying in it, everyone would leave. They would call their local Tea Party chapter to burn it down. If it had a Biden or Dem Gear or whatever flag, it wouldn't be a problem. That's not organic. That doesn't happen organically. That happens because it's controlled by the people you are able to accept. I talked about this this is not in regards to the Colorado Springs. This is in regards to the summer, this past summer, when there was this wasn't a story time. This was just drag dancing at a bar. I believe this was Dallas. Remember when the sign said, "It's not gonna lick itself," and there's children in the damn bar. So they're using the identity for the same thing. So there's not a global network for this LGBTQ push, but everyone who is pushing Black Lives Matter is pushing this LGBTQ type of commercialization. So I'm trying to separate it, just like you try to separate global network from the local chapters to a certain extent, or even more global network from your neighbor who doesn't know what's wrong about Black Lives Matter but just wants to do something good. So I'm not telling the people that are in that bar that they're just bad people. They are being manipulated, though. You are being used. The LGBTQ push, this whole Pride Month push, is now it's done in the same way Black Lives Matter was done. It is an anti-MAGA movement. That's it. It has nothing to do with sex. When you look at the acronyms for LGBTQ, I did that in the previous video where I spelled out all the 15 letters or whatever. One of the A's is for ally. You don't even have to be gay to be in the group. At this point, the only people not in the identity are MAGA, is the populist right. That is the whole point of this. It's not about sex. I know sex is in this, but that's not what this is about.
they feel like it's a path to take their children away from something they've been told is evil. I guarantee you, if I asked any of them, they wouldn't even know why they should hate MAGA. Those are the demands of BLM on the website. It's about grooming them. Yes, it is, but not about sex. They don't care. They don't care if the kids are gay or not. In my opinion, what they care about is that they are allied to that community, however that looks like to them. I consider myself an ally as well, but not how they view it. So they are grooming them into the establishment. We want you to be raised where you respect Joe Biden, Mitt Romney, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, CNN, not stuck in the middle, not Tim Pool, not Joe Rogan. You will believe the establishment. That's all it's about. There are different avenues. That's what this whole life is going to be about. There's a million different avenues to funnel people into that life. Black Lives Matter is an avenue. LGBTQ is an avenue. There's a million different avenues. If there was, instead of it's not going to lick itself on the wall, if there was a Make America Great Again sign on that wall, they would have ran their kids out of there. They would have dragged their kids right out of there in 2 seconds. They view MAGA worse than it won't lick itself. They would put their kids on the lap of a known pedo or MAP before they put their kid on the lap of somebody with a Make America Again t-shirt. It's that simple. It's not more complicated than that.
I still believe that. I still believe it's that simple. That's all this is about. It's not. I think we overcomplicate. I overcomplicate
using the
things.
identity.
I overcomplicate things very often. It's not. It's not very complicated. There are people who are authentic, honest. Like I said, I'm not against any person, but when you take it to a larger movement flag and all of that, and you use it as it's a hate against somebody else, to me, that's what the whole manipulation is about. Well, you literally saw Nancy P. do it. And the argument from the other way isn't the same argument. The Matt Walsh, when he talks about this gender pause, affirming pause care, when he talks about that, he's saying it should be for 18 or older. He's not saying to wipe it out for anybody. So it's not like he's trying to go against everything. If you are a man and you want to dress as a woman, Matt Walsh does not care. What he cares is when you dress as a man, or when you're a man, you dress as a woman, then you're dressed inappropriately, then you have children over for story time. That's where he gets uncomfortable. So it's not like he's saying everything of there is bad. So I think we have to find a way to come to the table. This is what I said. Chuck Schumer called the Supreme Court MAGA. I don't know if you remember that. I actually meant to put that tweet over here. But the point of it is that anything they don't like is just MAGA. The Supreme Court is obviously not MAGA. You could say that Ginny Thomas is MAGA, but I wouldn't even call Clarence Thomas MAGA. Alito's not MAGA. Like, there's nobody on the Supreme Court that's MAGA. But they called Chuck Schumer called them literally MAGA. There's a tweet still up right now. Here's where I'm going to end, and then I'll read some comments and I'll be out. We need to communicate with each other about what terms are needed to have a genuine conversation. What would need to happen for people on opposite sides? I look at Charlie Kirk. I mean, he's a busy dude. I think he could run the Republican National Committee. But I don't know if that's even more important than TPUSA, though, to build up the bench strength of people who are not funneled into the establishment. I think his job might be with TPUSA might be more important, and leave Scott Pressler or somebody else to do RNC, in the ideal world. But I bring Charlie Kirk up because he will have an authentic discussion with people. He was on with Tim Pool and Vosh. What would it take to have a good discussion? And what I mean by good discussion is a discussion focused on how do we live together. You might have to get into discussing the merits, because what we have to do is say, okay, what's your boundaries? What's my boundaries? Can we even live together? I don't see those conversations very often. I saw Jenkins had people on. He had, who do you have? He had Dennis Prager on recently. But when they have them on, they don't focus on they just kind of yell, and it's kind of whack, to be honest with you. I don't know what it takes, but I would say anyone who identifies as LGBTQ, I think to have the conversation, you need to separate yourself from any anti-MAGA hate or that anti-MAGA movement. And the other side is going to have to separate from any anti-LGBTQ movement. So I think if you separate yourself from the hate of MAGA, I can separate I don't have any hate, but I don't like the movement. So we can kind of come to the table and just talk like normal people. That's what's not happening. The algorithm doesn't do that. I mean, ratings on TV well before the algorithm didn't promote that. So I don't know how we get to that. Maybe you have some ideas. Let me know what you think. Go through, look at some of the comments, and then I'll be out. Rare. If I could stay up, I would do a late night every night. And you know what? The tea was starting to get me headaches. Not as bad as the coffee, what I mean by withdrawal headaches. Like, it would be nights where I wasn't doing the live, and I would get a headache at night, and I'm like, oh, damn. My body's expecting to have that, because this is caffeine tea. I'm like, oh, damn, my body's expecting to have that caffeine tea, so I go to sleep with a caffeine withdrawal headache. Not as bad as the coffee ones, though. But, so I'm not doing this very often. But let's see what we got. The Hike Martin, Martman, friends of the show coming through. Rules for Radicals leaves no room to meet in the middle. Yeah, that's the Saul Selinsky book. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think about that. So here's my take on that, Hike. I don't think everybody subscribes to that. I think there are some people. Here's my take on that. My take is to try and find, because I think a lot of people in this channel are somewhere in the middle. Tim Pool is somewhere in the middle. And he doesn't subscribe to Rules for Radicals by Linsky. He doesn't subscribe to that. So I think you've got to maximize the numbers of those who are willing to have the discussion. I think that's what I would say. What is going on? What is going on today? Bruh. I'm going to assume this is a bruh. I don't know who H-Day. I'm going to assume this is a bruh. Bruh. I know the channel is 80% men, and I'm making an assumption here. I don't think there's any woman tweeting this. Really, bruh? Sausage patch lids? No dessert for you. Timeout. I'm putting you in timeout, and you're going to bed early. And no books before bed. No tablet before bed. You need to just go straight to bed. Sausage patch lids? Maybe I should just not do late nights anymore. Where is that coming from, bro? That's friend of show. I think very highly of Liz. I think her channel is great. She's doing if you don't know, she's not with Timcast right now. She's doing her own channel. I don't get into the drama. I have no comment. I don't care about any of the Krigler, all that kind of stuff. That's them. I'm about the ideas and the issues. She's great. She's authentic. I put a high value on people who are authentic, and I think highly. Hopefully she doesn't see this and be like, "What the hell is going on?" What is going on, y'all? Bruh, what is happening tonight? What is okay, I see what it is. It's the Tim Pool haters around. Is that what it is? Is that what it is? Hey, as long as you don't spam the chat, I don't care. I mean, I do not want everybody in the chat with the same ideology, or we just got jokes, or I don't know what's up. He said she should interview Jack Murphy. And maybe you're being serious, actually. Actually, you're right. Why not? Why wouldn't she? Ian went on with Jack. It was a great, you might have seen it. It was a great, he went on Jack's channel. Jack's great. I don't care. I don't care about his personal life, man. I really don't. Yeah, Jack is too. I'm a fence sitter. I try to take solid stances on things I know. If I don't know about it, I'm just gonna be out. But I try to take solid stances, but I feel like I fall basically on like both sides. Like I'm for universal basic health care and stuff like that. Richard Goodson says, I've been watching Tim Pool since he said he defends his life and house with a bow and arrow. And now he has, so Richard is talking about, if you go back, the videos are still up. The old Tim Pool videos, you can see how much of a lefty he was. You could do that too with me. I didn't know of him back then, but I did go back and I saw the progress. I still remember the video, Richard. I'm sure Richard probably knows. Oh, no, a literal fence sitter. Oh my gosh. Okay. No, it's not a bad. I didn't get the joke. But Richard's talking about, so I saw the episode where I don't know if it was T or the T group or what, rolled up on Tim Pool's crib. You remember that episode, Richard? That's a classic episode of his Timcast channel back when it looked different. And I think he was living in Philly, around Philly at the time, in that area. And he was live on air when the police came and somebody had rolled up in his crib. And now he's got swords. And I was watching it one day and my son's 6, he was like, does that dude, he didn't say it like that, but he's like, did that dude have a sword and a gun on his wall? And I see it so often, I don't even think about it. I'm like, yeah, he does. It's a real sword. Richard Goodson says, I was for capital punishment until Kyle Rittenhouse. Now I don't trust the state. I'm right there with you. I kind of waffle on that. I'm going to be definitive. I am not for capital punishment because I do not trust the state. I will be definitive about that. I agree with that completely, Richard. Let's see here. He said you can't have a discussion with the left. Let's see this. Surprise Pikachu. My son somehow got into Pokemon. He's never watched Pokemon before. But you can't have a discussion with the left. They will just sink to name calling and threats, zero substance. I think you got to find people that you can. I mean, there are Jimmy Dore types and Jackson Hinkle types. There are types out there. We got to find them. But in general, I know what you're talking about. It's true. So Colby says Jack Murphy is a scumbag because he lied all about himself, attacked respectable people when they asked about it via super chat. Yeah. Yeah, that was not a good moment for him going after Sydney. I believe that's what you're talking about. And he's very hot temper there. So it's very similar to Dr. Karlin Borisenko. She would not be happy with me putting her name in with Jack Murphy, but just in that they are very bright, very brilliant in their own ways. and then also flawed. So I just haven't had the time to listen. I haven't listened to his channel in quite a bit, but I have nothing. I will still listen to him and follow him. I don't subscribe to I never subscribe to what is the masculine thing? I never subscribed to that. I think the things where he was like he had brunches where he traveled with brunches. I think that's a good idea, but as a traveling roadshow type of thing. But if you're signing up to be like a man with some site, that's taking advantage of the issues we have in our country where men feel emasculated, and maybe you can fill a void. Man, if people find value in the service, then fine. But for me, that's not for me. I don't. You're not an alpha if you have to tell me you're an alpha. You're not an alpha if you have a service to sign up to try to make somebody an alpha, is my perception. But if it works for you, then it's just like church. If church brings value to you, then go to church. But I never subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that to anybody. I agree with this tweet, this reply here. Barton Bella says, we all have a past. Just own up to it and use it to let anybody know that they can change. Absolutely. I agree. Teach me how to alpha, bro. Hike Martin says, teach me how to alpha, bro. Yeah, it's less like, that's kind of cringe, isn't it? You can't be taught how to be an alpha. Just know who you are. But again, if you get value from it, then I have no beef. Yeah, I know. No, I agree. Not me. It's hard not to make. I think I've made a couple jokes about it. I actually made when Will Smith did the slap, I kind of put I used a meme that put his face on with the Jack Murphy beard. So yeah. As far as jokes go, I think that's all fair for sure. Richard Goodson says, just ignore me. I talk to the chat more than anything. Okay. I never, Barton Bella says, I never miss a Jimmy Dore. Great, man. Jimmy Dore is so good. Comedian, has people on. He's just so insightful. He's authentic. And that's the left. We can talk to Jimmy Dore. That's the type of person. Man tried to break in his house. Cops told him to get a shotgun. He tried. Cops told him he can't have one. Yep. And then he left. That's Tim Pool. That's what happened. And I kind of had the same. I was for gun regulation before I kind of got red-pilled. This is before 2020. So I will be out. And yeah, everybody has a past. They're talking about everybody has a past. Yeah, that's why many people can't run for office, because they don't want to deal with that, which I fully agree with. But I'm about to be out. Thanks a lot for checking out the live. And you could visit. You always have to get that grift game right. Get that grift game in. You can visit middlemaga.com. I got to get more on the blogs. So the one thing, this is actually my second time in my life launching a website. But yeah, I will put videos up here. So I got the one where had to hash out some beef with Elon. I talked about a transformer in that one. Milo was on with Tim Cass. That was a great episode. And then Fetterbump for president had those videos up. At the top, you've got about, if you want to know me, a little bit about me, you got about section there. Got the blog. Gosh, the blog I'm struggling with it because I can't update it on my phone, and I should have talk to the developer of the website about that first, because that does not work for me. I'm usually running around. I'm not on a laptop. I can't even do it on an iPad. So I guess I could just do it on the phone and copy and paste it, but man, it's brutal. So I got to work on the blog, but right now I'm using my locals for a lot of this stuff. And then community, Discord. And then you can go to the shop. You can get some MAGA gear. I am all in on the MAGA gear and griff. You got the shirt here. This shirt's right here on the top. Somebody was asking about the Shadow Crew. A couple people, Elon's Shadow Crew shirt is on there. Just various items coffee mugs, etc. Multiple ways to support the channel. Right now, just watching, you are doing the utmost of support, and that's most important. I appreciate you. Thanks a lot for checking it out. Take care.